Wednesday of August 12, 2008. Please stand for the pledge and the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will we please bow our head? Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us together tonight. We ask that you watch over our great city of Newman and that you give this council the wisdom and the guidance to make the right decisions. In this we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Bob. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Kane?
Present.
Councilmember Kelly?
Present.
Councilmember Crinclaw? Mayor Pro Tem Martina?
Present.
Mayor Fantasia?
Present. Declarations of conflicts of interest. Seeing none this evening. Ceremonial matters. Introduction of new code enforcement officer William Davis.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. I'd like to present to you our newest employee with the Newman Police Department. Not new to the city of Newman, though. We stole him from Public Works Department with Ernie. And Mr. William Davis, Bill, is replacing Edgar, who's off the police academy. He's been with us now, I believe, about 2 weeks. With the city about a year, maybe a little bit more than that. And we're very happy to have him get our program back in full force again, doing our code enforcement as well as some of our non-sworn activities for community service officers. So he's in training right now. He's doing very well. And we'd just like to introduce him to the community and to the council and those present here today. And welcome to the Newman Police family.
Welcome.
No speeches.
So, is Ernie been out of shape because of, transition from one department to another, or you guys worked it out, or?
Well, it cost me, I think, $66. I had to pay him off.
$66. That's not bad.
That's an inside.
That's not
That's
bad.
an inside story. But
Yeah, I just like to say one thing. Starting off, I think he's had real good things coming from this gentleman that is hired. In my neighborhood, there was a couple of old beat-up cars out in the street, and I was going to call it in. I went around yesterday. They're gone. He's only been in the job for 2 or 3 weeks, and they're already gone.
great.
So,
I don't know if we did it, but we're going to take credit for it. We're happy to do that for you, Mr.
You're gonna
Applegate.
take credit for it anyway.
We'll take credit.
That's a community service officer uniform. They wear a little different from us, as they're what we call non-sworn. They don't wear a gun and make arrests and those sorts of things. So we identify them differently so people know that they're not a full-fledged police officer. You bet.
May I ask why you always you seem to hire guys that could probably knock it over the fence anytime they want?
That's just a coincidence.
Coincidence. Yeah, right.
Sure.
Michael, you got to look out for it.
Sure. Chief, you may want to, since that question did come up, maybe make the council aware of your uniform changes that became effective August 1st.
Sure. I brought 3 models with me tonight. Actually, to the public, there's not a lot of probably visible change, unless you're really looking closely. But it's changed to us in uniform. We're all wearing the same manufactured shirt now from the same vendor, same pants. The visible changes to the public would be the patch is different. I don't have an old one. There was in the paper they printed both side by side. But one of the things we tried to highlight is we wanted to show our pride in where we come from. And it was, you had to look really close in the old patch to see the words Newman. We all knew that we were Newman cops, but unfortunately we have to go to Modesto, to court, and we interact with different people. We don't spend 100%. We do have to get out sometimes, and we wanted to show people that where we're from and be proud of that. So we made the Newman a little more prominent on the patch, but kept the city seal in place as well to represent our history of the city. I don't know, Bob's in there if he can get a good one of that, but that's what we were going for with the concept of the patch. And everything we were trying to do with the uniforms, the cars, the patches, we started with just a very simple, basic look. Nothing, kind of getting back to basics. Not flashy. You see the car designs are very simple, just simple print saying who we are. The badge is the patch is very simple. Not a lot of fancy script in it that would really take away from what we're trying to market and advertise who we are.
And your badge?
The badge you probably wouldn't notice as well, but it is different. The former badge was about 16 years, I believe, old, 90 or 85, 86, somewhere around there. And we actually, tracing back our history, have had very few badges in the history of the department. And it's just another example of us trying to, what we were referring to as our extreme makeover, to create a new image for ourselves. And a lot of what we do, it's visual. You don't always get to interact with us. So, if who we feel like we are, and we create a positive appearance for us, then it changes the whole culture of the department. And so we've really tried to go forward with that kind of, not forget our past, but close that sort of book and start a new chapter of the Newman Police Department. So, the officers designed it themselves. They came up with the design and brought it back to me and with a couple of options, and this is ultimately the one we chose to move forward with. So everyone's real pleased with it.
Great. Thank you.
That's good. Good.
That's good.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Items from the public, non-agenda items. If anybody has anything they'd like to bring before the council that is not on tonight's posted agenda, now would be the time. Seeing no one, consent calendar, waive all readings of ordinances and resolutions except by title. Approval of warrants and approval of minutes of the July 22nd, 2008 regular meeting, and adopt resolution number 2008, next to number, approving the Plaza Water Line Replacement Project and authorizing myself as mayor and Michael Holland as city clerk to record a notice of completion. Just be aware that there was one page that was added to the warrant list, and it should be in front of you. With that, if there's no questions, a motion?
I so move for approval of the consent calendar.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. No public hearings this evening. Regular business, item A, adopt resolution number 2008, next to number, declaring certain personal property, surplus property, and authorizing disposal or sale of property.
Good evening again. I'm back. This recommendation is actually on behalf of the police department, the recreation department, and finance as well. I drew the short straw on this presentation as well. We are asking, the staff is recommending that this council declare certain properties obsolete, unrepairable, or otherwise unneeded. And this is a familiar process for us, as we've gone over several of these already. But from time to time, the departments just go back and go through their inventory of property and make a determination if the item's still needed or not. Maybe we've replaced it. Certain things we've replaced just in the normal course of business. Other things we just no longer use. And that's applicable for all three departments that we're talking about tonight. If the item is of any value, we do make efforts to auction it off or to try to recover some of our costs. Otherwise, if it's just unrepairable or clearly there's no value in it, then the item is disposed of properly in whatever manner, if it was hazardous material or just simply in the garbage can, whatever it may be. The first attachment A is for the police department. One is for a vehicle, a 1999 Ford Crown Victoria that the department no longer has any use for. There is some value in that. We will auction that off, which we've had some success with doing on previous vehicles. The remaining items are just mostly miscellaneous office furniture, computer parts, software, keyboards, just things that we are now replacing that were listed in this year's budget. The department's computers were, I believe, in the early to mid-90s range, and through this year's normal budget process, we're able to successfully replace all of those. So we have no longer need for these computers. And then item 3 there is just miscellaneous vehicle parts. I mean, there's tires, old obsolete police radios that are just don't go in any of our vehicles anymore, lights we no longer use, sirens, etc. And those items would be properly disposed of or auctioned off as needed. The finance department had 2 items. Looks like a printer and a typewriter, and recreation was a out of order air hockey table and a ping pong table. So, be happy to answer any questions and.
Chief, just on your attachment item 8, the police radios and police lights and sirens, how are you going to, we're going to dispose of those, correct?
Yeah,
I mean,
those are all really old.
Yeah.
And so the police radios, we will have to make sure that they can no longer be used if someone was to get their hands on them, you know, with the recycling and the trash, people going through trash, etc. We are able to dispose of a lot of our items through the Crow's Landing. We have a relationship with the waste plant in Crow's Landing. The lights, you know, we would break up or basically make sure that they are not operable.
I just assume you're going to, that was my only concern, that
Yeah.
they would be destroyed
Absolutely.
rather than end up.
Absolutely.
Someone.
And the computers, a good point as well, Councilmember. The computers will all be wiped clean as well, in case there's any security or confidential information on those.
Questions? If not, some direction?
I would move to approve and adopt resolution number 2008, next number, declaring certain personal property surplus property and authorizing disposal or sale of said property.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Probably just better stick around.
Yeah.
Item B, report on the Fall Festival.
Actually, Sergeant Richardson is going to make this
Oh, okay.
presentation on my behalf.
Giving you a break then. That's good.
I didn't get a chance to draw straws. I was just chosen.
You were assigned, in other words. So.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, Sergeant Richardson. I have the report on Newman Fall Festival 2008. This year, Fall Festival will fall the last week of August. Routine street closures and the parade is basically the same as years past. R Street, Fresno, Tulare, and Q Street. The Fall Festival parade street closures will be from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Sunday, August 31st. The Fall Festival Committee will have a $1 million insurance policy in place by that time. The committee is requesting that city services The committee is requesting city services, as has been provided in past years, is aware the cost covered by city council action will be responsible of the Fall Festival Committee. Other requests not covered by the committees are to waive business license for vendors in the park, have exclusive use of the city park, waive permit for alcohol in the park, and to authorize the city park as a beer garden for exclusive use. The police department has been working with the Fall Festival Committee to assess police coverage and previous security issues for the event, indicate usual calls for service, handle minor incidents and disturbance of public intoxication. It is the staff's recommendation that any cost over the amount budgeted be invoiced to the Fall Festival Committee. I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Questions? Pretty much same as previous years. And the chief has attended some of our Fall Festival meetings. We appreciate that, Chief. If there's no questions, we need a motion to approve the permits and the street closures.
Make a motion that we approve the closures of the streets. Exactly what the sergeant just said. I'm looking at this thing and it's
I'll
goes
second.
on and on.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Sorry, guys.
Thank you very much. Item C, adopt resolution number 2008, approving a 3-year lease agreement with Newman Co-op Nursery School and authorizing the city manager to execute said lease for the property located at 1147 R Street.
Thank you, Mayor. The current lease agreement that we have with the Newman Co-op Nursery School dates back to the 2000. So it was time to renew that, and part of that also helped originate this was during our budget year, as in the current situation that we're in fiscally, the council decided that we were no longer going to pay utilities over there. So with that, I sent off a letter, and we thought, okay, this is a good time also to go ahead and clarify what the city will be responsible for and what the Newman Co-op Nursery, or the leasee, if you will be responsible for. So with that, we've crafted up a new agreement, and we'll go ahead and get that over to you. Again, the previous agreement was a 5-year agreement, and it established the rent at $200 per month. We're also carrying forward with that same cost of $200 per month. Our recommendation is, though, the months of June, July, and August, that rent be reduced to $100 per month. Primary changes also include the nursery school will be responsible for all costs associated with PG&E and phone service, but the city will continue to cover the cost of water, sewer, garbage, and recycling. Nursery school will be responsible for providing cleaning and sanitary supplies. Nursery school will be responsible for minor maintenance and the cleaning of the premises. And these are, again, typical of what you see in lease agreements between landlords and lessees, or tenants, if you will. The city will continue to provide landscaping services and continue to clean that. We have agreed to, again, replenish the bark and the sand about every 3rd year for them, to make sure that the playground structures themselves have that in there. And again, as a landlord, we will continue to take care of all major maintenance, HVAC, and those types of things. When I say landscaping, I also include the fence that we have out there as well. So, Mike Meyer has worked diligently to work with the co-op nursery in crafting this agreement. I know they do have one issue that they've brought to us. They would like rent to be $50 a month during the summer instead of the $100 a month. It's our recommendation again that we move forward with $100 a month. We're continuing to provide landscaping services, utilities, water, sewer, garbage, and the like out there. So we still have a cost to the city, and the $100 probably won't even cover that cost. So with that, that'll be our recommendation as we go forward with the 3-year lease agreement as presented by staff. I can answer any questions you have, and I know that the Newman Co-op Nursery is actually in the audience, and they're going to want to speak with you as well.
So in other words, Michael, during those 3 months, we're paying for the services, sewer, water, garbage.
We will pay for the sewer,
Electric.
water, and garbage all year.
But how about the electric? They're still paying even
They will
though
pay
it's
the
on
electric and phone bills
during this 3
during the
months.
whole year, during the 12 months.
Even on the 3 off months.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. That's their responsibility. Again, if you think if you just kind of envision yourself again in a landlord tenement type lease agreement, the things that are typically required of the landlord, make sure that building's safe, make sure the HVAC works, make sure the plumbing works, those types of things. That's what we're going to do as a landlord. And as tenants, they're responsible for cleaning it, providing all the janitorial supplies, toilet paper, soaps, all those things, also paying the phone and PG&E costs. So again, it's what you would see is typically a landlord leasee tenant agreement.
Michael, in the letter that it's included in our packet, one thing that caught my attention, it says that we do not use the school for all 3 months or on a full-time basis. If they're not using the facility, we're still charging them rent?
Well, I think that's a misnomer. They are using the facility. They just don't have classes going on. Now, that doesn't mean that we can rent it out. This is a 12-month year-round lease that provides them sole access to the structure. The fact that they don't have classes for 6 of the 12 weeks during the summer is, in our perspective, irrelevant. It's still, there's no option for the city to rent it out or lease it out to anybody else. They have sole access. They go in. They actually provide cleaning, deep cleaning during those summer months. They do registration and lots of other things. We also took that into account when we reduced it from $200 a month to $100 a month.
Additionally, I noticed where they respond by saying that they would pay $150 for the summer month, for the summer given a limited use of the facility. and I see that Mrs. Andretti is here. I'd like to hear from the nursery school co-op.
Come on up.
My name is Crescencia. I am the treasurer of the Newman Co-op Nursery School, and I'm here with Mrs. Andrade, who's the vice president of the board. First thing to clarify, I am proposing that we pay $100 a month during the summer, but only for those weeks that we use the facility. So that would be 6 weeks, so that does effectively come out to $150. In fact, in our initial discussions with Mike, we were only talking about a 9-month lease. And so they were not, in fact, at that point, interested in charging us for the full 12 months. And this summer program has been effective for over a decade, and we've been paying a $50 a month rent for the summer program for 10 years. And we know that $50 is too little, but based on the $100 rate per month for the 6 weeks that we use it, we thought that was fair. We're basically not in there after June, until between June, after end of July, and we're not there for the first 2 weeks of June. Our registration is actually in September, not in August. Our classes don't begin until September 7th. So just a point of disagreement.
How much of the month of June are you in the facility?
2 weeks, basically June 15th through June 30th.
Okay, how much of the month of July are you in the facility?
Most of our classes are on July 24th, so for basically 4 weeks.
How much of the month of August are you in the facility?
None.
My name is Sharon Andrade, and I'm one of the teacher directors at the Newman Cooperative Nursery School. I've been there about 32 years now. We do have a cleanup day in August to prepare for our registration, which is in September, and we begin school on September 8th this year. So the only really time that we're in there is in August is if Janet and I, who is not here tonight, bring in supplies and things like that. So we're not down there really conducting any classes or anything, just updating what the classroom bulletin boards and things like that. And then on the 28th, the parents come in and help clean up because we are a parent cooperative. And this is how we try to keep our fees low for all the people in the Newman, Crows Landing, Patterson, Turlock area that come into school. And that is one of their responsibilities. And during the time that we are in session for the summer programs, I have anywhere from 7 to 9 junior high and high school students that help in that area, and they earn service credits, and the other teacher has 4 or 5 students that also earn community service credit. So I think by charging this extra fee now upon having all the extra fees that we are responsible for, we thought we might be able to get a little bit of a decrease.
So during the month of August, if somebody wanted to have a meeting or something there, it would kind of be hard because you guys are still in there kind of working or getting ready and stuff
Usually,
like that.
Mr. Fantasia, when we do go in there to work, the tables are usually clear, everything's off the floor. There are chairs and things in there, especially when the Historic Society come in and they put their chairs away. Usually the floors and things are clean, the tables are cleared, so if somebody did want to come in there, they would have access to a clean room, because Janet and I really try to make sure the rooms are clean, because we never know when anybody's going to go in there to look at the room, to look at the school, because it is, very, very unique and one of the oldest buildings around.
Unfortunately, the letter from Michael came June 30th, and we'd already set the fees for the school before that date. So, we are just doing sort of a cost of living increase for the teachers. We gave them a much smaller bonus. We're a nonprofit. We don't operate on we really pretty much operate on pretty razor-thin margins. So this will we may have to think again about bumping up tuition, which is very low, sort of in the order of $85 a month. Which makes it very accessible to most families. So, and I think the summer program is key to get a lot of the kids ready to be in preschool during the school year.
So basically, we're talking about $150 here.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
I think for me, in what I'm reading the lease agreement and reading the letter from the co-op and hearing the ladies speak, I guess I'm just have a hard time charging them for $100 a month when they're not going to be there in August. They're proposing $150 for the summer months, and if we charge them $100 for June, $100 for July, it's $200. I would be more inclined not to charge them for the month of August. And if we agree this 3-year term, this lease, then that gives them time to, at the end of that 3 years, if there's going to be any increases, it gives them time to prepare, as well as if they have to raise their rates, they would have time to do that. At this time, if they've already established their rates, and as minimal as $100 might seem, to a nonprofit such as nursery school, I think that's probably huge. I would be more inclined to waive the $100 for August, and since they are in there for a period of 3 weeks in June and 3 to 4 weeks in July, then it'd be appropriate to charge them the rent for that. But I'd be more inclined to waive the $100 for August, and then give them time. If it's a 3-year lease, give them time to prepare, and if they have to increase their fees over that period of time, they can let their parents know that there is going to be an increase due to increased cost of operation.
Bob?
Yeah, I concur. I think that there's no reason they should have to pay the August, so what I would want to do is strike that out and just say for June and July it'd be $100 per month, and then the remaining 9 months at the rate of $200 per month.
Okay with that, Ted, or what?
I'm okay with it, but I mean, we're going. I think of, if you rent an apartment and you say to the landlord, "Hey, I'm going on vacation for a week. Don't charge me." So I'm not going to pay the rent. But you're doing a great thing. So
Well, I think the difference between a rental piece versus a nursery school that's been a part of this community for over 30 years. I see a huge difference between paying a monthly rent to live in a home versus a building that they occupy to help prepare and strengthen young children to enter the normal schools.
But I think, you're talking about $100, and I agree with you. If they're not in there in August, and I'm trying to work with you here, but then you are in there in June and July. Now, and we're not charging you $200 there. So,
But it only operates in the mornings in June, whereas you're operating full-time mornings and afternoons during the school year.
guys, I'm not fighting you. We throw away money so many other ways. So,
You do.
I don't.
I
don't
do,
think.
yeah.
I don't think we throw
No,
away
I
money.
don't think so either,
I-
to be honest
yeah.
with you. But I mean, it just go with it. I'm fine.
Happy with that, ladies, then?
We'll accept, obviously, we have to accept your decision. We don't have very many other choices, so.
Good decision.
You want to make that a motion then, Ed? Or?
I do.
Yeah.
In reference to item 10C, the authorize the city manager to execute lease agreement with Newman Cooperative School, Nursery School for property located at 1147 R Street. I would propose under the primary changes that under item 4, that the city is proposing to rent the summer months of June, July, and August be $100 per month. For the rent remaining 9 months would be at $200 a month. I'd like to strike the month August. Leave the month of June and July at $100 per month. The remaining 9 months at $200. Again, striking the month of August at the $100.
We have a second to that?
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Item D, report on the wastewater treatment plant expansion and disposal master plan and open comment period.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. As I'm sure you recall, back in June 24th of 2008, project engineer Tiffany Knapp presented the wastewater treatment and disposal master plan to you. Since that time, she had been working on the public review draft of the master plan, and that has been submitted to you for comment and review. City staff members have completed review of the executive master plan summary. We've met with Ecologic staff. We've discussed all the changes, the corrections, and to ensure the informational accuracy. And so we're proposing that the master plan be available for public review and comment by Monday, August 18th, and that this information be available at City Hall. Then we could use the rest of August and all of September for a comment period. After this review period, Tiffany Knapp will make a final master plan presentation to the City Council at your regular meeting of October 14th, 2008. So this is what we're asking, that you have the public review and comment period to begin on Monday, August 18th. Any questions?
Questions for Ernie? Just informational, right? Yep. Thank you, Ernie.
Thanks, Ernie.
Item E, report on Oristimber Creek flood control feasibility study.
As stated in the staff report, the Oristimber Creek flood control feasibility study has been ongoing for a number of years since we experienced
9 years.
extensive flooding.
9 years, but
Yes, 9 years, and we experienced it in the city and the surrounding farmlands. And as you know, Stanislaus County has been the non-federal sponsor of the study, along with the United States Army Corps of Engineers. The study is moving forward, and a recommended plan will be available shortly. Study has been reduced from 6 main alternatives down to two, and the NED, the National Economic Development Plan, and that's what's defined as the most economical alternative, is coming up. This plan is expected to be completed in September, October. So attached to this report, you'll have a letter from Stanislaus County staff members. They provide you with a brief update of the feasibility study. And you also received a copy of the PowerPoint presentation regarding the Oristimber Creek study area. This is the presentation that Supervisor DeMartini spoke to you about at the last council meeting. It has to do with the two alternatives that are remaining, having to do with putting the levees around the city, and then and also taking a look at the earthen dam up above at the creek site. September 17th, there is a special meeting is scheduled where the group is seeking input from the council and from all the citizens of Newman. So this is a non-action item. This is only informational, and we just wanted to be sure that you are aware that this is moving forward. Any questions?
Ernie, on the two alternatives.
Yes.
And I think the upstream dam has always been long thought of. How much emphasis is being put on the alternative 2 with the levee system, levee design?
depends who you talk to. We're emphasizing the upstream. The Corps still has to study the last alternative, which is, we call it the levee system. Right, Ernie?
That's
Sorry to
correct.
butt in, but that's the bottom short version of it,
Yes. But we're
after
having-
9 years.
We're having a real fight though with the upstream dam with Nature Conservancy and a few of other groups.
It's just strange that 9 years ago, and when the talk was of an upstream dam, and I can still hear Jim Silvera talking about that was really going to be the answer, and I think at the time everybody thought it was going to be a quick solution.
Right.
And it's interesting
Yeah.
how it's taken so long, and I don't want to minimize what needs to be done here. And so I think every year when it rains like crazy, we all kind of panic.
Yes, we do.
And my first thought is I make a beeline for the railroad trestle, see if it's clogged or not. And to me, I know that's a simple resolution, try to keep that clean, and so the water would flow, but, it's just amazing how this has drug on, how many millions of dollars are being spent for what I think is a simple project.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've spent quite a bit of money on the study, but they're
They could have
finally.
built the dam.
Yeah, but they're well down to two alternatives. But I mean, even with the dam, especially how big that they're proposing it to be. I think it's
Yeah.
about 77 feet above the existing.
Top of the
levee
dam was
at
287 feet.
at the aqueduct.
Yeah.
So
We're still sticking to our guns that that's the best
Yes, yes, we
spot,
are.
and
Exactly.
the subcommittee that's been around for all these 9 years they're all unanimous, and that's our goal. So we
That's
just have to
correct.
wait for this study to be done.
Thanks, Ernie.
Thank you, Ernie. Item F, report on Yancey Building design options.
Thank you, Mayor. It's been about just over the past year, the Plaza Committee has been working towards a final design for the downtown plaza. There have been some several changes over the last year, and that includes the inclusion of the McBride property that was purchased by the redevelopment agency. And there's also been some other support from surrounding properties. And the original design has since evolved into the new design that was presented to the council back in June. During that meeting, the council expressed a desire to have the Yancey Building in the plaza and directed staff consultants and the committee to reevaluate the plan and the placement of the Yancey Building. So that's what happened. And so following the June 10th meeting, staff has organized 2 plaza committee meetings. The first meeting, again, just tried to focus on trying to define the use of the Yancey Building and what that would be at the plaza. The recurring comment that was thrown out, and I think it was actually probably originated with the original master plan, was a visitor center chamber type office, and that's what the Yancey Building would be used for. However, it was generally agreed that staffing the structure was going to present some challenges in terms of staffing it in any type of either full-time or half-time regular basis. That would present a problem. So towards the end of that meeting, the consultants who had been talking with some of the original people who had voiced concerns about the Yancey Building and its current location and it not being in the plaza plans, there were some conversations that occurred afterwards, and they came up with an idea of showing, transforming the rear of the museum where the Yancey Building currently sits and turning that more into a garden type setting. So Mike, go ahead and hit that first.
Michael, real
here.
fast, the version that was in the packet, is it different from the email version or the same? Same. Okay.
Should be the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know Netherland was emailed late this afternoon, but I don't know if there's any changes to the same.
Not today.
Yeah, I don't think there was any
I didn't-
emails
I didn't
today.
get anything today.
No, this was last
When
Friday.
did I get this?
You should have got that last week.
But I mean, I got a separate email of just about the,
Yeah.
So, oh,
Okay.
you're the plaza, because we sent the report to the
Okay.
plaza
That's why I
committee
got
and
a
city
separate.
council members.
That's why I got a separate email in.
Correct.
Okay.
So what we did was is we also emailed a copy of the report to people
Okay.
who were on the plaza committee, and we had their
Gotcha.
email addresses. So,
I thought maybe there's a few changes or something, but there wasn't.
so,
Okay. Sorry.
so based upon a conversation that the consultants had with some of the people, this is a proposal that they threw out to the plaza committee. I'm gonna start here. This is Main Street. This is Kern. This building here is the Carnegie Library, also known now as the Newman Museum, Historical Museum. So what they've done is taken this back lot, and anybody who's seen that back lot recently knows, there's some antiquated farm equipment out there.
Depends what you mean by antiquated.
Antiquated. It's right. It's antique,
We call them
historic.
antique in Newman.
It's mostly junk.
Hey, come on now.
We have some old we have some historic farm equipment in the rear.
There you go. That sounds good.
and it's all in basically, you know,
Pristine condition.
in the time, you know, there was some gravel placed back there, but since then it is, you know, probably been depleted there, and now some weeds have crept in there, and there's some storage containers right here that are currently being used by the Historical Society for some of their artifacts that they have here, and also some of their bookkeeping. So moving on forward to where we're at, this proposal, as we see it here, takes the Yancey building and places it in, or sets it down in its approximate location to where it is right now. I mean, give or take a few feet, it would sit in its general location right there. And what they would do is build a foundation and lower the building to its original height and how it's set. And that, I think they said it was about a 3-stepper, or about 18 inches. And then place it down here. Then you would see this structure here is a wooden ramp that will lead up and give ADA access to the structure. And again, the wooden porch is this part here, and that would be restored, and then you would have the 3-step access here. You would also have handicap accessibility through the rear and a ramp here. So what you would then do is, again, restore this. Potential uses, in speaking with the Historical Society, they could potentially use this as a place to where they conduct their meetings. They also have, and I believe a member of the Historical Society said in one of our plaza committees, some furniture that was recently rehabilitated, restored, and given to the Historical Society could be placed out in there as well. They have, if people listening have never been to the museum, they need to take the opportunity to go, because there are truly some great things in that museum. Unfortunately, they have such a collection, they can't show it all up here, and so they have downstairs and they rotate the stock in and out and update it. I know Mr. Sheldon, or some people know him as Pat Crow, and his wife Donna do a lot of the docent work on Wednesdays there as well. So again, then they could take some of the exhibits that they have downstairs and also display them out here in the Yancey building as well. But to go along with that, what this picture illustrates is it also transforms this back area into a garden, and it turns this whole corner into a historical site for Newman, and all of its historical resources are all captured here. And you could come into the museum, look at all the exhibits, come downstairs. You know, we are currently working on putting an elevator in there for handicap accessibility, and the access will come through the side if you have handicap accessibility, and it'll take you upstairs. But you could also come in here, do a tour, and then also include the Yancey building as part of that historical tour. Furthermore, you could have city events there, such, you know, an event could have been the James T. Silvera Award, maybe possibly this weekend. You had a barbecue out here. In the evening, you could have meetings for League of California Cities. Tables could be set up in these particular areas here. You could have a little podium here, a backdrop, so guest speakers to speak. Historical Society could have fundraisers and the likes, or Optimist, Rotary, and those types of things. And during the meantime, while you're having these types of events, you could have the Historical Society have docents available, and people could tour the museum as well as the Yancey building and look at all of that. Getting into the details of this particular plan here, I'm gonna have to cheat here and look at my notes, I can't read them from there. So what we have here is, this is a courtyard type setting. You have some low wall type seating here, so people could sit in this particular area. Again, access could be made to the lower floor here. There'll be some restrooms that'll need to be made into handicap accessibility, handicap accessible. And then again, the museum the elevator is in the middle, so they can go in and out. But again, this is kind of a courtyard type setting that people could sit. Also, then you could, around the perimeter, what you do is you eliminate the chain link fence, and then you put up a decorative wrought iron metal type fence, and then you have decorative columns which would match the old Carnegie Library. So envision a brick pillars and columns, with a decorative wrought iron fence all the way around this, leading up to the Yancey here, and then on the side, and probably most of this area in the back here. Again, I talked about the wooden deck access, the Yancey building. You have rear access here that vehicles or equipment could be moved in and out, and there's just a larger spot there. These are large shade trees back here, and then underneath you see a little square. These little squares here. What they estimate, and again, this is nothing permanent, but the idea was you could put crushed granite back there, and then you put the farm equipment under the shade trees, and you still have the farm equipment on display in these particular areas over here, as well as over here as well. And then again, this is just scored concrete pavers and the like. And then again, I talked about this as a wooden trellis, potentially, backdrop for speakers and other types of events that could occur there. So that was presented to the committee during their first meeting, and they liked it. But they also indicated, well, we'd still like to see something being proposed on the plaza. So RRM went back, took some of the comments that they had received from the committee, and again, we talked a lot about use, what's it going to be used for, and those types of things, because it really has an effect on how you lay the property out. How does it face? Does it face the parking lot? Does it face highway? Does it face a corner? There are a lot of different factors to consider when you're designing this area. So they try to get as much information from the committee as possible to move forward. So during the second meeting, they had done 4 sketches, and they weren't this elaborate. Again, they were sketches that the committee could look at. Based on the 4 sketches, this is the one sketch that I think people tended to gravitate out of the 4. They looked at these ones and said, well, out of the 4, this is the best one. So what this has is, again, the Yancey building. Let me back up one second. Here's Highway 33. This is Fresno Street. Excuse me, this is the McBride building. If you were to go out there right now, you'd probably see Newman's Lube Smog in this general vicinity right about here. This is parking lot over here. So what they did is they took the Yancey building, and then again they faced it. The front of the Yancey building, these are the stairs that lead up to it, faces the parking lot area. So that would be facing north. Handicap ramp in this particular area here. And then they surrounded it by trees. They put potentially, here's an entry piece to the plaza. People could come into the plaza and access the plaza this way. Excuse me. Ornamental wrought iron, brick pavers, all the like is in there. So this is the one that they came up with, and again, you got some landscaping around in this particular side. But based upon at that meeting, and we did give you a copy of the sign-in sheet for that meeting, and the members of the steering committee or plaza committee that were there. The overall recommendation, based upon the sketches that were submitted and the propensity or the potential for the Yancey building at the museum, was to recommend to the city council that they proceed forward with the Yancey in its current location and to add that as a city project. That was the recommendation that came from the Plaza Committee. So now here we are again having that. Now we're presenting both options to the council with the recommendation from the Plaza Committee that goes forward. And if you open it up one more time, Mike. This is just kind of a blow up again. This shows you the last slide, and we just cut that one piece out because we're not recommending any changes to the plaza in the other part. Again, direction was to evaluate the Yancey building in the plaza there. So with that, I can entertain any questions or comments that you have right now.
Michael, I just have the original conception of this whole area. Don't we have drawings from that because I think going back to originally, we had drawings with the Yancey building presently where it's at on the plaza.
In the original master plan document that was
Right.
done probably about 2004, I believe.
Correct.
Yes, it was generally located in this vicinity. You're correct.
And do we have any copies of those artist renditions? Or is
Well, we do. We can track those down for you, but let me tell you why we're not presenting those tonight. Is if you back it up one slide, Mike. There has been significant changes to the plaza, and one of them is based upon the city acquiring control of the McBride building. Okay, now we open it up to the next slide. That changes the real flow. Originally, when you looked at this particular building, these components, I'm going to circle right in this particular area here, were never taken into consideration because, again, those are really hard lines. And these are, now what we've done is blurred property lines, and we're trying to seek the cooperation of property owners here because it will definitely benefit these particular property owners if we can expand the plaza onto their side. Also, what that does is by making these improvements here, it allows all this area starting here, outline it all. All this area now is at sidewalk level. It's at a plaza level. And then when you come down here in this bottom area, it actually sinks down a little bit because this is more defined parking lot area. So it opened it up, Bob. And then it allowed us, again, the plaza committee, a very key component that we designed this plaza around is that mailbox.
Listen, I use that mailbox, so I know how important
hey,
it is. That mailbox is important.
Based on the plaza committee, 95% of the community uses it, and I'm one of them. But we needed to find a way to make sure that that mailbox got in there, and it got in a location that was very conducive to drivers. So we placed in this particular area. Again, by getting the McBride property here, we were able to do some redesigning of this whole spot here. So that's how this plaza right here has actually come, the Yancey building has come out in that particular site there. So there's a redesign that took place, Bob. The plaza has expanded. It's kind of evolved based upon those scenarios of the utilization of and cooperation of different property owners,
Yeah.
and the acquisition of the McBride building. Now, we don't have any agreements right now with any of these property owners. I need to throw that out there. We don't have any agreements. Now, we've had discussions with them. I know the St. George is now up for sale. So there are some obstacles to completing this piece right here, but we don't think that they are obstacles that can be overcome.
Yeah.
And we really think that it helps that whole particular thing.
One of the things that really concerns me, the original thrust was to put the Yancey building at that location, and that was pretty much the direction that was given by the council. And how we've gotten away from that, I don't know. It seems like that's where it was going to go, and it seems like that's like almost an afterthought now. And I don't like that because I think that we have to give that, when we talk about that, we should say that that is a good location for it. What I'm saying is, and I think it's a great location for the Yancey building, personally.
Right.
And I think that Tom Yancey probably would have wanted it there. I don't think he would have wanted it in back of the historical library. I mean, I don't know. I have a hard time putting that back over there behind the museum.
Bob, I want to just make it very clear. This was not something that, all of a sudden someone just threw out. There was lots of lively discussion about, when this project started to evolve, what stayed, what didn't stay, the Yancey building. There was a lot of dialogue that happened with it. But a lot of that dialogue, again, centered on, if we're going to put it there, let's try to help define what it's going to be used at. Are we just sticking a building on the corner? I'm just trying to talk to you a little bit about what the conversation was.
We had an original purpose for it, and
Correct.
that hasn't changed, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
It was a visitor center
Right.
with a restroom facility.
Right.
And
Could we not, even for all the things you pointed out in the location behind the museum, could that all not be applied as well if that building was in the plaza?
Well, it's not that. I can't say that it won't, but what we did was, and again, this is something that the Plaza Committee, we even had these discussions with the 4 drawings out there. What you're looking at is, an urban plaza type setting, and you really change the character of it if you're trying to transplant what was being proposed at the museum and you're trying to transplant it there. The flow doesn't work as well. Now, that's why I think they still came up with the design here that is in front of the council tonight, and you're going to give staff direction on. And we'll move forward with whatever your direction is. They still have the Yancey building. There is some garden out here, but here's the thing: it doesn't match up with what you have at the museum, and then some of that reason is this location doesn't provide itself like the one at the museum does. You can't really hold a barbecue in this particular area or a League of California Cities event with the highway traffic and the noise and the public. And so that's why the space is designed a little bit different. It doesn't mirror what you're seeing at the Carnegie or at the museum.
I can appreciate. I don't necessarily think that we're in the business of hosting barbecues. I mean, that is a nice thought, and I think it is. I agree with what you're saying, Mike. The things that can be done, and it's very appealing. I probably, like a lot of people, spend a lot of time in that building. It sat on Highway 33 for so many years, and it's the oldest building in town. I'm just kind of more inclined to want to showcase that building back on the highway, where that's going to be the entrance into our plaza, where it's kind of like the mainstay. Granted, are we going to have somebody man that building all the time? Probably not. Or could we do it once or twice a week? I don't know. Maybe we could. The idea was it to be a visitor center. Maybe we'll get to the point where we could have somebody in there. I don't know, chamber. But I still think even in the plaza area that we could still host different events and showcase our plaza, and that building being seen from the highway and being recognized as the oldest building in town. And again, I, like a lot of people, knew Tom Yancey fairly well, and I know Tom would be smiling down if he saw that building in the mainstay of our plaza. And I'm more inclined to stay with the original theme and keep it in the plaza. Although I like the rendition behind the museum, I think that would really spruce it up and it would look nice. And I agree, all the stuff back there now is junk. It's, to make all that stuff presentable, it's all going to be restored, painted, and all the other kind of stuff, and I don't see that happening, but I could be wrong. I'm just more inclined to go with the drawing in the plaza. I like this drawing. That building has got so much history, and if it's in behind the museum, we're going to dump a lot of money into it to fix it up. And if we're going to do that anyway, then I would vote for it to be in the plaza, fix it up, make it the mainstay of the plaza.
Ted, comments? Wake up.
I'm here. I'm a newbie. I'll be honest with you, I'll go with Ever. I think we do have to preserve the history. Are you guys happy with the way it's situated, though? Facing the parking lot there, the way this drawing is?
Well, I would think that could be tweaked.
Well,
Or do you
if
mean
need be.
put it on? Well, no, let's throw this out now. But
Well,
would you put it on 33 then, or?
I don't think you could tell enough from this artist's rendition. I think you're looking down at something, and it really doesn't give you the true picture that you're going to see if you had a side view of what the property is going to look like.
I think the main thing is we're deciding if we're going to keep it in the downtown plaza, and if it needs to be tweaked a foot here, foot there, whatever, that's beside the point.
Beside the point now.
That's where we're at tonight.
And I don't discount all the work and conversation that the committee had, and they looked at a lot of drawings, they had a lot of discussion, and they like either one of these decisions, and I think Mike Crinkle said it, you know, we're gonna be popular with 50% and unpopular with the other 50 or 75%, you know. It's a no-win situation, but, you know, we're the ones that have to make the vote and make the decision, and I think people elect us to try to make the best decision for the city. And in my opinion, I'm only one. I think the best location for it is in the plaza. And if we're going to restore that building, I'd like to see it restored and put it in the plaza. Granted, we could tweak it, turn it any way we want. You know, that building is the oldest building in town, so I'd be in favor of putting it in the plaza.
Mike, this is gonna screw up the whole flow, though. I know these guys, the experts come in and they have a flow of the whole plaza.
Not necessary. I think with this rendering, I don't think it does. I mean, that's part of the designers came up with this. They worked with the Plaza Committee, and this was a design that the Plaza Committee could endorse if the council so wanted the Yancey building out here. I don't think it messes with the design. I think it'll turn out fine. There's not going to be any issues. You know, if the Yancey building and the council decides this is where it's going to go, it's going to be very nice. And this design will work for the city. The flow will work. It's just a matter of if that's where the council wants it, we'll make it work. And that's where it'll be.
Well, it's my opinion that it's gonna get a lot more use if it's behind the museum, if we fix it up. I think you can, we talked about it that we walked to lunch that one day. If you put a real, I mean, I see weddings back there. I see, and buying bricks, people buying bricks to put in that courtyard instead of just cement. But really, in trees, I just see, we could really have something. I just think it's gonna be utilized a lot more there than it will be if it's in the plaza. You've got to, and I totally agree with everybody here that you have to make sure that history is kept. But now decide where. Guess that's what we're doing.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that the Yancey building be put at the plaza area.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
3-1, motion passes. The Yancey building stays at the plaza.
If the council so, may I follow up with a few questions?
Sure,
if you
sure.
Because we have $500,000 of federal grant money that we're trying to expand, and we need to get on construction documents. Can you back up one slide, please? And this was the rendering that the Plaza Committee chose as to be their favorite of the ones they saw. And again, when you look at the Yancey building, the frontier, if you pull up into it, it really looks like a house type setting, and it does, like I indicated, it's not, there's still flow that allows that, and it does provide the Yancey a nice setting. Can we move forward with this design here, or is there another? Do you need another level design with this structure in it? Do you need me to bring back 2 or 3? I'm kind of hoping that you can give me some direction. Can we move forward with this?
I would move forward, Michael.
Okay.
I mean,
what's the timeline?
I agree.
We're up against the
Yeah,
timeline, right?
we need to do something. I mean,
let's do it.
Yeah.
so if you're in concurrence, and this was the one that the Plaza Committee liked out of the 4. If you're in concurrence, we'd like to move forward with this particular plan because we need to start getting stuff to Caltrans. They said if you get it to us in December, they'll be done in June, which means October.
Exactly.
So we're trying to get this done. So I'm hearing, or I'm seeing noddings of head that this layout here is acceptable, and we can continue to move forward with this.
Absolutely.
With the Yancey building in this general location, and finalize these plans here.
Everybody
With
concur?
the rest of the plaza, correct?
Absolutely.
Yes. Does everybody concur with that then?
Yes.
I concur.
Like I say, I mean, obviously, that rendering, if it moves 5 feet this way, whatever, to make it all work out, so be it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item G. Adopt resolution number 2008, next number, approving the expansion of the Stanislaus County Enterprise Zone.
Thank you, Mayor. It's been several months since Doug Sweetland of the Alliance spoke to the council regarding the benefits of the enterprise zone. It's quite an endeavor to get it all together, and we worked on it, but with the hiring of a new chief and the budget and everything that went on, it took a little bit longer than we originally anticipated. But we're here today to ask you to adopt this resolution approving the expansion of the Stanislaus County Enterprise Zone 40 to include Newman. Again, could you please bring the map up? Again, it's a difficult map to see, but to the north is Stir Road, this main artery right down the middle. This one right here is the railroad tracks, and the one that veers is the highway. Fig Lane extension would come out in this particular area here. This would be Jensen Road. So there is some area that exists within the county. Now, all areas within the city that are zoned commercial or industrial, we are proposing to be part of the enterprise zone, as the enterprise zone has benefits, tax credit benefits to all commercial and industrial businesses, provided they hire qualified employees and meet the criteria of the enterprise zone. But there is, again, some area that is currently not in the city, so our application after conferring with the county is that we're going to do a joint application between the city of Newman and Stanislaus County. And that area, again, as I go through, includes about this area right over here, and then there's a little bit of area back up in here. Over 80% of the area is in the city limits. Approximately 20% is in the county. Now, the area that is in the county is all in our primary sphere of influence. The infrastructure to serve all this area is either adjacent to or across the street. So all the infrastructure to serve this, which is designated as Business Park, is right at Sherman Ranch. So you just trudge under the highway and boom, your infrastructure serving that area is right there. So again, we have infrastructure that comes over here as well. One little shortfall, infrastructure comes about right here, so it's a little bit short for this commercial piece down the bottom, but again, it's within half a mile of serving all of that. So with that, we've been working with our engineers to get all of this done. Our staff planner has been working our GIS system. We've identified all the address ranges, all the businesses. We have over 120 potential businesses in the city that could benefit from the enterprise zone. We've had some discussions with some local businesses. We have letters of support that have already come in from F&A Dairy of California, letters of support from Westside Pallets coming in, letters of support from other businesses, and there are also going to be private sponsors. So we have a list of at least half a dozen or more private sponsors that have added their name to our application. So with adoption of this resolution tonight, we will be submitting our application no later than Thursday to the Alliance and to the county for consideration of expansion to the enterprise zone.
Questions? If not,
I make a motion we adopt the enterprise zone expansion request.
I second that motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Item H, report on funding request from Ready, Set, Learn campaign.
Thank you, Mayor. We received a letter from the Women's Missionary Union of the First Baptist Church of Newman. They're starting a campaign called Ready, Set, Learn. Ready, Set, Learn is a program that helps children throughout our community get ready for school. And they do that by providing them backpacks, and these backpacks, are filled with essential school supplies. In this day and age, school districts, funding for school districts is low. They don't provide pencils and paper like they used to back when we were all going to school. The student is required to provide all that now, and those costs can be large, especially if you had multiple kids. So again, they have asked the city to make a donation. We have a community promotions fund. It would be staff's recommendation that the city donate $250 to the Ready, Set, Learn campaign to provide local children with backpacks filled with school supplies.
Nobody's here from the church, right?
No, Miss McDonald couldn't make it today.
This will come out of Ted's part, naturally, as always, right?
$250. They think we're made of money?
I don't know.
Come on.
Hey, I want to up it to 400. If we can pay for a portable field goal, I'm serious.
We didn't,
Put it towards this.
it's coming out of your part,
That's fine.
coming out of your travel budget?
You could put it towards the nursery school too, while you're at it.
Okay, do we have a,
It's been a long night.
we need a motion for this donation?
Yes.
Can we up it to 400?
You're,
Seriously,
you're the council. You can do whatever you want.
guys,
Yeah, you're just giving money away everywhere tonight.
Hey.
Jeez.
Yeah, you already did.
That's my
so-
recommendation.
but I mean, 400. Never mind.
Make up your mind.
I would like to see it 400. Really.
Is that a motion?
I'll make a motion that we up it to $400.
Just like Santa Claus. I second that motion.
You're a good man.
All in favor?
I
Opposed? Motion passes. That extra one comes out of your
thank you.
budget there, Ted.
Take it out of the money that I'm taking from this city.
Okay. Report on item I, report from Supervisor DeMartini.
Unbelievable.
Thanks, guys.
Good evening, Mayor Panazia, council members. I have a few things I'd like to go over with you tonight. If I could add a little bit to your report on the Oristrimba Creek flood control project. On August 4th, county staff and myself, Public Works, CEO's office, met in Livermore to look at this grove of sycamores that they're taking care of there. And we spent quite a few hours there, and we got the tour of it. Apparently, what we were told was a sycamore tree is not especially rare, but a sycamore grove is. And so it just, because it has a creek that runs off the mountains and the floodplain, and it's very similar to what you have here, really. So we did look at that. We had the Corps of Engineers was there, Nature Conservatory, and we had a, well, I guess what you would call a park ranger there. It was a park with trails through it, and so we went through it. We were able to drive it with one of the rangers, and they do maintain that grove, and they have started propagating trees. So, should the flood control project be the detention dam, it is my estimation that you're going to be on the hook for managing that grove of trees. There is a lot of pushback, from the Nature Conservatory over a flood control dam. Although I agree with you that is the best project, rather than the Chevron levee and the dam around Newman. At the meeting that we had here in Newman about a month ago, they did, as you probably have it in your board packet, the hydrology and the floodplain was defined, and what it would take to put the levee up around Newman, along with a fairly large drain to the San Joaquin River, which it's not real desirable, and because it'll still flood some of the farmland, and you'll have a levee up around the town that will virtually end any expansion of Newman to the north. Probably the good part is that you're down to two projects after spending millions of dollars on it. And I know the county itself has spent $3 million, and the federal government has, in other sources, I wouldn't be surprised if it was another $1 million on top of that. And so we have studied this thing to death now, and we're down to two projects. The only thing I wanted to leave you with was that if we were able to get the detention dam as the chosen project, something would have to be done and put in place to maintain that grove, because there's no way that the Corps of Engineers or the Nature Conservatory is going to allow something like this if there wasn't some type of management of the grove. And that doesn't mean a full-time person, but there's certain things that they actually have full-time people over there. So, you laugh, I know it gets ridiculous, but they are really serious about this sycamore grove. So we learned them how they grow and how they propagate and more things that I ever thought I'd ever know about sycamore trees. Well, one thing that's interesting though is that, I asked why are there no young sycamore trees either there or here? And apparently the conditions for a sycamore tree to grow in these natural groves has to be just right, and that may not happen but every 50 or 100 years before they would sprout and grow new ones. It has to be a certain amount of flood and sand and gravel and the conditions just right. So it may not happen but every 100 years, which is, if the trees live 300 years, you see it's probably not a big deal. So that answered my question. But what they're doing there is actually trying to propagate trees. And they say it's never been done before, so they don't know how successful they'd be. But I don't see why it wouldn't be.
A long living ranger will let us know, right?
Yeah.
Right. I'll wait around.
You wait around 10, give us a report on that.
So just remember that if you do take the detention dam, that something is going to have to be done about that sycamore grove to maintain it. So anyway, the next meeting here will be September 17th, and we'll be a little bit closer to reaching a decision on which way to go. With the help of Congressman Cardozo, this thing is moving now. After years and years of studies and reports and PowerPoint presentations, where I can actually see that something's going to get done here pretty soon. Okay, the West Side Healthcare Task Force was held here in Newman. We thank for the pizza. I don't know who paid for the pizza, but it was.
Ted always pays.
Like Meyer did the wonderful job for you.
That just outclassed all the other cities.
Does that surprise you?
No, not for Newman. No, it does not.
Smart company.
No. It was a very productive meeting, and we are making progress. This is a very complex issue to bring better medical care to the West Side. I'm really encouraged by each meeting because each time we kind of focus on what might take in a business plan and what might work here and what doesn't. We've done a tremendous amount of statistical analysis. Today we had, myself and county staff met with Emmanuel Hospital. Now this was the first one of the three that we're going to meet to see if they will help us. And that meeting went much better than what I ever anticipated it could have been. We didn't know if they were just going to thumb their nose at us, not have any interest in it, but they were very nice to us. They took all our information and said that they would participate in the group and try and help us get something done. They are well aware that the emergency calls go primarily to their hospital. And so we gave them a little bit better statistics and breakdown of the area. And they were pretty much up to speed about what this area is like. And the meeting went just excellent. We met with them, the CEO and his staff, for about an hour and a half today. So I'm very encouraged by that. We have our meeting with Doctors Medical Facility on August 22nd. We'll see how that goes. County does have a relationship with them, but it's sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But then we will meet with Memorial, but we do not have that date set yet. The next meeting of the task force, because of the work and deliverables that have to be done, will be October 23rd. And we do have now a very solid support in any kind of technical assistance we need from the Great Valley Center. The Dejune Shelton, as city council person of Patterson, is now the head of that organization, and she's offered some of their resources, which we don't really have. So that's the next meeting. We will kind of blaze some new ground. So it is a big project. It's slow. Hopefully it's not going to be as slow as the Oris Dengbrook Creek flood control project. But unlike that, I actually see a little bit of progress every month. So the next meeting, Patterson, October 23rd. And just to mention on the last thing, the Joint Powers Association for the South Quarter, we will have a meeting on August 22nd at the County Administration Building. I assume somebody from Newman is going to come for that. We are trying to put together what it is we want for the South Quarter. And probably the two options are going to be, first of all, it's going to be a expressway from Turlock to Highway 5. What we will be talking about is what the route will be. So we have two different routes being proposed. One of them is the widening of West Main to San Joaquin River and turning north and catching Eucalyptus and then over to Zacharias. So it'll be a the sharp turn just past the river next to the Patterson's sewage treatment plant. The other alternative would be the extension of Monte Vista, which may be actually easier to build, and going across City of Modesto's land. It would require a new bridge across the San Joaquin River. Although that is expensive, the bridge across the river on West Main would have to be widened anyway, and that's not cheap either. The right-of-way acquisition would be next to nothing compared to what it's going to take trying to widen West Main from Turlock to Patterson. And of course, Patterson doesn't want anything to happen to their palm trees on Las Palmas, and that's why it has to make the turn. There is zero support for having the expressway turn into Fink Road, on Crow's Landing Road over to Fink that way. City of Patterson has said that they will pull out of the agreement if that should be the case. So that part of it is not even on the table. The two things we will consider was whether or not it's going to be West Main, across the river to Eucalyptus and Zacharias, or Monte Vista, which will pretty much line up with Zacharias. We would have to negotiate with the City of Modesto going across their land. But that is a possibility. So we're going to be talking about it really on August 22nd for the first time of what the route might look like. And of course, this is dependent upon the sales tax measure passing. Should that not pass, there will be no money for any of the three corridor projects. But we have to assume that there's a good chance that it would pass and start making the plans of what we want to do for the expressway. Okay, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks.
Staff reports. Michael?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to go out on a limb here and tell Jim that the city of Newman is willing to manage the Sycamore Grove in the future to the level it's getting right now. Which is
There you
zero,
go.
Which is zero.
I'll back you on that one.
Find it interesting to believe that they're making this big case about it, but they got trails and cars driving over them in the other area.
It's a good place to have our barbecues, actually.
Crazy. So, we do have a mixer this coming Thursday here in the city council chambers for businesses in the downtown district. So I encourage all the council members to attend. The last day to file papers for city council will be tomorrow, and this will run on Thursday, I believe. So we have one more day for people to pull and return papers, and that needs to be done by 5. So if you're out there and you're watching this, it's too late. But get them in early because we have to check over them, and it's not just drop them off at 5 o'clock, and so. There's a neighborhood watch. I'm still the chief sender. It's coming on the 19th, and that's a citywide program. We actually have speakers coming, and some of those are presenters and speakers from other communities and other successful neighborhood watch programs. So today we conducted interviews for the maintenance worker 1, and that was to take code enforcement officer William Davis's spot. So I think we interviewed about 11, and we had the city of Patterson, Stanislaus County, and city of Merced to thank. They came in and conducted the interviews for us. So that's mostly that what I had. Again, we did sign that 3-year, or council did approve that 3-year lease with the with the Newman Co-op Nursery, and so I think the lease that you gave them was very fair. It's substantially below market rate. I mean, if we were to go out to an RFP and open that up for empty bidders, there, I think that is substantially lower than what we could have got. So I'm not sure they're entirely happy with the outcome, but they should be. I think it was very fair. And so with that, I can entertain any questions that the council may have.
Questions? Further staff reports?
I had a question probably of Adam in regards to Neighborhood Watch. Adam, I think these programs are really great programs, but it seems like so often neighborhoods will start these programs and then pretty soon they're going pretty good and then they start to die out. And I'm just saying, is there some way that to keep motivating people to hang in there to the importance of a Neighborhood Watch, because it's truly something that's necessary for neighborhoods to be safe?
Exactly, and that's a large part of is our responsibility to. We're going to kick this off, and then we have to provide maintenance to the program. We've dedicated or assigned our detective to be the coordinator of that, and so people feel like they know who they're calling. It's the same person. This person will be involved in attending their meetings as frequently as possible. I'll be attending. And the ultimate goal actually would be move away from me attending and the Neighborhood Watch coordinator, the detective attending, and they can manage the program on their own with occasional visits from just random police officers that happen to be on patrol, so they get to know everyone. Some of the complaints we read about in our own local newspapers, we don't know our officers, and not necessarily in our community, but in others. And this is an opportunity for us to get to know the residents. So it's our job really to keep the maintenance and motivation going, and to bring them realistic statistics of what they've done in the last month. You've called us 3 or 4 times. You reported this. These 2 panned out, and this is a result of your being involved. And these 2 turned out to be nothing, but that's okay. So to keep motivating them to continue on. So
Yeah.
we hope it'll be a good program.
Thank you.
It's a good time for your staff report. If you're.
I think the city manager stole everything from me.
Oh, sorry.
He was a little short on his tonight, so he took some of mine.
I left you with black and white cars.
Well, that was all part of we talked about it earlier with the image.
No, you just talked about your uniform. Come on, give them the black and white.
Okay, well, they saw them this afternoon too. But this, again, along with the image of, we just went through an extreme makeover of the police department, so to speak, and a more traditional look that is more commonly looked at as an actual city municipal police department. There are some with white cars, but the vast majority, overwhelming majority, are black and white. Gustine is black and white. Our neighbors. There have been occasions where officers have been mistaken as a security vehicle that are more often white, or the sheriff's department, and we want to identify who we are and be proud of who we are, and we want to say that we're the Newman Police Department and not leave some assumption that we're some other department. So we went with a simple look, as we talked about, black and white. Also a strong deterrent effect, and I don't mean that as to scare people, but black and white is much more visible versus there are many, many white cars out there. And the black and white is a much more visible presence, and I think people will notice as the car going through their neighborhood or down Main Street. They'll look up and say, "Oh, great, there's a police car driving by. We appreciate that." Versus we may not catch their attention, the good guy or the bad guy, if it's a white car just cruising down the street. So we hope that it has some positive effect in the community as well, as I certainly know it has some positive morale effect for the officers.
Chief, just the dogs, why don't you?
The dogs are out and about, both of them. They're both doing very well out in service, on patrol. 7 days a week we have coverage, generally in the late to mid-afternoon to very early morning, 3, 4 in the morning type hours. But bad guys, that can fluctuate obviously at any time, so don't just assume that we're only out from 3 to 4. We do have 2 dogs, and we do mix up our shifts just to make sure everybody knows we're around. They're both out in the Tahoes. They are sharing one for now, the one that the council observed before the meeting. The second one is still getting some equipment installed. It's probably about 50% complete. It's at the we're having that outfitted at the sheriff's department. It's a fleet division now, so we hope to have that one in the next week or so. They're taking a little longer than we had hoped and sort of were promised, but we pay them a visit every day or every other day at least to motivate them. So we hope we get that one out as well. But for now, both dogs are out, and we're getting a lot of comments from our good community members and how much they appreciate it. And we even had some comments from our frequent customers how much they don't appreciate it. So they're doing well.
Well, what was that comment that one of the bad guys?
One of the bad guys actually told an officer that, yeah, I used to run from you guys all the time, but I've read in the paper that the dogs are out now, so I promise I'm not going to run anymore. So we'll see if he keeps his word or not.
Yeah. And I had one other
Yes, sir.
question. On, I think Sunday, there was some graffiti put on dress code, and I'm sure you took pictures of it and everything else.
Yeah, the last 3 weeks have actually been really bad
That's
with
what I thought.
graffiti, and we just, I don't know what you really attribute it to. I mean, if this was late June, I might say, well, the kids just got out of school,
Yeah.
but they've had all summer, and all of a sudden it seems the last few weekends have gotten really active,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, it is gang graffiti.
I know
it's
it
not,
is.
an artist, so-called quote unquote artist type stuff. It is associated with Hispanic street gang type activity, or they're crossing out each other's tags. We're very aware of it, and we are taking some steps. I haven't contacted the specific community members, but there are some vendors in the community that I'll be visiting tomorrow or later this week for some partnership efforts from them on what they can do to help prevent this from happening, and ask for their help. And the other thing is just vigilance. We've got to, the community has to call as soon as they see it. If it's on city property, we have a very successful process with the Public Works Department. They're out within 24 hours covering up. The problem comes in when it's on private property. That's a very difficult, some people don't appreciate us coming onto their property and covering it up. If we did that, others would say, you painted his fence, why don't you paint mine? I don't like the color. An employee tripped and fell on the private property. There's just a whole host of issues when it comes to private property. So that's where it seems to linger. So we're having, staff has had a lot of discussion. We talked about it with the city manager this week in our management meeting. What can we do to kind of address that private property area where we really seem to, the current ordinance is within 7 days. But does everybody actually comply with that is part of the problem. So we're very aware of it, and it is a big problem right now.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Any questions?
Chief. I think we're good. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Other staff reports?
Just a couple of items. The new restrooms at the Pioneer Park are open for business as we speak.
Open
right
for
now.
business.
They will close at 9 o'clock. They have programmable locks, so we can set the time and we don't have to worry about having to go open up and we might have to spend the night there. No, there's no way you can get locked in. You can get out, but you can't go back in.
Get out, but you can't.
And so at your next meeting, we should be having a notice of completion coming before you, so Stephanie can close out the project with the county. And then next is the, I have, no, I'll come back to that one. That's the last, should be the last video. This is the Canal School Road area that Councilman Martina was concerned about, that he spoke at the last meeting. This whole roadway, this section from just north of the Lucas Ranch 2-3 subdivision to Hills Ferry Road is in real bad shape, and it has a very low area. All that floods all the way from the fence line all the way across the roadway over to where that pickup is parked, even beyond that. And even though there's a storm drain manhole here that we'll be able to put some storm drainage in there in the future. Next picture. Again, this is a closer, a close-up of the low area here along the fence line. Next one. And then this was a real bad area in here that we had to go and fill in with some of the cutback because that thing was down a good 6 inches. Next picture. And then over from this other side, again, this is a real low area on this side, and you can see how bad the roadway is. Next. And then this is just looking back south into it, and as you can see back around this area, and there you have some real bad holes on the roadway. Next picture. And again, as you can see, there's even damaged some of this manhole here. Some of the concrete is cracked because of cars driving across through there. So I've looked at this area with the Mario Gouvet from Boyle Engineering, our consultants. And after reviewing it, he proposed 2 alternatives. The alternative number 1 is at a cost of $127,000. We would install drop inlets for storm drainage so we can get the water out and tie those into that. There's a 54-inch existing storm drain that cuts across there and then heads south. And that would be about $15,000 to do that work. And then he's proposing to remove and dispose of existing AC pavement down to 10 inches of road base. Just dig it all out and dispose of it, get rid of it, come back, compact the native soil, put in 9 inches of new base rock, and then go over it with 3 inches of asphalt concrete on top, and then fog seal the pavement, and that would come to a total of $97,000. And then, of course, with the engineering, contract administration, construction services of $15,000, that all totals to $127,000. However, because I told them that at a future date, the general plan calls for realignment of Canal School Road coming around to match the Driscoll intersection, so we didn't want to throw too much money into it. So he had alternative B, which is $59,000. Again, we have the catch basin for $15,000. And then he's proposing to pulverize that existing AC, what little is left of it, mix it in with the aggregate base material, that's about 8 inches of it, and then compact the material and pave it with 2.5 inches of AC for $32,000. And then the engineering, contract administration, construction services, $12,000. So that totals to $59,000. Alternative A would give you a life, road life of 20 to 25 years, whereas this, being more of a repair operation, if you will, would give you anywhere from 5 to 10 years. So this is what we're looking at, and again, the first picture, which was the aerial, shows this one here, shows this area here. See the outline? That's what we're looking at. It's about 6,500 square feet in area, and that's the report I brought back to you. We do have Prop 1B monies. It's eligible for that. So it could be included with the other proposals for street improvements that we will be bringing back to council. And if it was coupled with that, then more than likely some of these costs would go down because it wouldn't be a standalone project any longer. And it would also reduce some of your engineering, contract, and construction services. Any questions?
No, thank you very much. That's excellent. Ernie, I did have another question in regards to, I don't know if you're the right person to ask, but if you drive around our town, you notice there's a lot of homes where the grass is dead and no one's taking care of it. And I'm just wondering, does staff have any ideas as far as how that can be handled? You know, I know that a lot of these homes that have been foreclosed on are owned by the bank. And I think it's terrible to cause people property value to go down because there's a home that looks like the lawn hasn't never been watered. And I'm just saying, is there anything that we can do? I mean, the city.
That new state law that passed, SB 1137, I'm working on trying to do some implementation for that. It can result in fines of up to $1,000 a day.
Wow.
To the banks.
That'll get your
now.
attention.
Yeah, and there's got to be some rationale for that. It's it's up to 1,000, but that's something that can be used to address it, and I think it will maybe get their attention a little bit more than some of the other local.
Yeah, because it's a real concern. If you drive around any city right now, you'll see a lot of homes with the lawn. It's
We just
in
take
all
it
types
to,
of neighborhoods too.
yeah.
just take it through the code enforcement process and instill that.
Yeah, and all the money from the fines goes into continued code enforcement fund for that purpose.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ernie.
Thank you, Ernie.
Other staff reports? Nothing happening? Everything's good? Okay, that's what I like to hear. Items from council members. Bob?
Nope. Thank you.
Ted?
Thank you, Michael Meyer and Michael Holland, for the making that come to fruition. The pizzas and all the stuff. I appreciate that and help, and I know that they did, because we are the class act of that task force. Congratulations to 3 young men that are in that Babe Ruth league too, that they could win that whole national title. I don't know if you're following that in the paper, but congratulations to those 3 Newman kids. And that's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ted. Ed?
Just briefly, thank the chamber for putting on a nice dinner dance the other night. It was very nice. Had pretty good attendance, I thought. Wasn't too bad. Yeah. I attended the school board meeting last night just because I just wanted I want to look at the new facility, and it's a beautiful facility, the new adult ed center, and it's probably one of the biggest regrets I had when I was on school board. We didn't get that done as quickly as we should have, but it's a beautiful facility. They had their first school board meeting there last night. They had tours of the building, and they talked about the presentation of the new campus that they're proposing off of Barrington. They named officially the new school last night after Heard Barrington, which I thought was very, very nice, and Heard would be very happy with that. They talked about some of their funding mechanisms, the bond that they're going to have on the ballot on November 4th. It's in excess of around $20 million to try to get rid of some of the debt that they have due to some other financing issues, and then try to get that school built. They're talking about a $14 million project. I hope they can pull it off. Otherwise, they have to look at hardship funding, which they qualify for about $11 million. So the bond's going to be very important. And as much as we all hate paying more money, the school is desperately needed. So just remember that on November 4th. Hopefully, we can get the bond passed. And I just like to compliment and thank Chief. I like the new changes that you've put in store. It's great that you want to find your own identity. I think that's long overdue and what you need, and everything looks great, and thanks for that. Wish you luck. I think you're doing a great job. And that's about it for me, I think.
Thank you, Ed. Just want to remind everyone, as Michael said, Chamber Mixer here, 6 o'clock on Thursday. Sponsored by the city and jointly by the chamber. Hope to see everybody here. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.